You've probably got a bank account, right? Most of us do. But have you ever actually read all that fine print? Yeah, me neither. So what did we actually agree to? Today we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden legal contract you have with your bank.
I mean, really think about it. You go in, you sign a few forms, hand over some cash, but what's the deal, legally speaking? Are you just renting a little safety deposit box for your money? Well, the truth is actually way more fascinating than that.
That's it right there. Every single bank account is a formal, legally binding contract. And here's the thing about contracts. They're a two-way street. There are rules, rights, and big responsibilities for both you and for the bank. So let's break down what this unseen agreement is all about.
All right, so first things first, who are the players in this game? In the eyes of the law, what makes a bank a bank? And what makes a customer a customer?
Okay, so a bank isn't just some company with a vault. According to the law, it has to be a specific kind of corporation that is officially licensed to do one key thing: take deposits from people like you and me. That license is everything. It's the official seal of approval that separates a real bank from any other company that just handles money.
And what about you? Well, the legal definition is surprisingly simple. You're a customer if you have an account with a bank. That's it. It doesn't matter if you have $10 in there or $10 million. It's the simple fact that you have an account that kicks off this whole contractual relationship.
Okay, so we know who's who. Now let's get to the good part. What's the bank's side of the bargain? What exactly do they promise to do for you when you sign on that dotted line?
These are the fundamentals, the absolute bedrock of the deal. The bank has to take your money, they have to pay out your checks, as long as you've got the funds, of course. They have to handle your business with care, and hey, they can't just slam the door on you without giving you a fair heads up.
Now, this old legal quote reveals something that honestly blows my mind every time I read it. When you deposit money, you're not just storing it. Legally, you are lending it to the bank. Think about that. The bank becomes your debtor. They've borrowed your money, and their promise is to pay it back whenever you demand it. That changes how you see it, doesn't it?
But you know, out of all their promises, there's one that stands out as maybe the most important of all. It's an unspoken rule and implied duty. The duty to keep your financial life a secret. The question is that promise unbreakable? And that leads us right into the most dramatic part of banking law. Turns out there are a few very specific times when a bank is allowed, and sometimes even forced, to break that sacred promise of secrecy.
So let me tell you about a real-life case that set the standard. There was this guy, Mr. Tournier, and his account was overdrawn. His bank manager called his boss, supposedly just to find his new address. But in that conversation, he let it slip that Tournier was overdrawn and that he thought he might have a gambling problem.
And the fallout from that single phone call, Mr. Tournier was fired. Just like that, his job was gone because his bank manager couldn't keep a secret. The consequences were absolutely devastating.
So this is the million-dollar question, right? Can they legally do that? Well, Tournier sued the bank, and the case became legendary. It literally wrote the rule book for when a bank is allowed to talk about your private affairs.
And here's what the court decided. The ruling gave us these 4 famous exceptions that are still law today. The bank can talk if the law forces them to, like with a court order. They can talk if there's a major public duty, like stopping a crime. They can talk if it's to protect their own interests, say if they're suing you to get their money back. And finally, the obvious one, they can talk if you give them permission.
But hold on. Remember what I said about a two-way street? This contract isn't just a list of demands you can make on your bank. You have duties too. You've got your own side of the bargain to uphold.
So what are your jobs? Well, first, you have to be careful when you write checks so it's not easy for fraudsters. You've also got to tell the bank right away if you think someone's forged your signature. And of course, you have to pay back your overdrafts and any service fees you've agreed to. Pretty straightforward, really.
Let's make that first duty super clear. Look at this. See the check on the left? That huge gap after 50 is just asking for trouble. A scammer could easily turn that into 50,000. But on the right, by writing $50 only, or even just drawing a line through the space, you've done your duty. You've exercised reasonable care. It's that simple.
All right, now we're getting into the real fine print, the stuff you probably never noticed. Banks have a couple of special legal powers baked right into the contract, designed to protect them. They're called the banker's lien and the banker's set-off.
So what on earth are these? Well, a lien is the bank's right to hold onto your property, like stock certificates, if you owe them money. They can just keep it until you pay up. And a set-off? Whoa, that one's even more powerful. It means they can take money from one of your accounts to pay a debt in another. So if your current account is overdrawn, they can just dip into your savings to cover it. And they usually don't even have to ask you first.
So after all this, how does it end? Just like any other contract, this banker-customer relationship doesn't have to last forever. There are some very clear ways it can be brought to a close.
The most common way, of course, is you just decide to close your account. But the contract can also end automatically because of major life events, things like the death of a customer or bankruptcy. And it's not just about you. If the bank itself goes out of business, well, the contract's over then too.
So there you have it. That's the unseen contract. The bank owes you duties, but they also have some serious powers, and you have your own set of responsibilities. Knowing these rules is really the first step to banking with